3 years ago, I reviewed this, the Aputure AL-MC Mini LED panel light. It's an incredibly useful piece of kit, and I actually own 2 of these. Currently, if you were to buy one on Amazon, it would cost you about £100, and you'd use it in a lot of video scenarios, especially if you want to mount a little light on top of your video camera in order to improve the quality of the lighting in the area you're shooting and light up your subject a bit more. And I've also used them for stills quite a lot as well. 1 year ago, yes, this review is a little bit late, I bought this, the Aputure AL-MC Pro. It is everything that the Aputure AL-MC was and a lot more, including 4 times the brightness, a plethora of additional effects, and double the price. This will set you back around £200 if you were to buy one today. But is it worth it? Is the enhanced durability, the enhanced brightness, and the new capabilities worth it if you're going to be shooting video and want a camera light that you can mount easily, use anywhere, and most importantly, keep with you all the time? I'd argue yes. I've really enjoyed my time with the AL-MC Pro and will continue to use it fastidiously in the future. Part of the reason for this is the ease of use. It's got a great little display on it that I can use to change the settings, to do different things. I also like the fact it charges nice and quickly via USB-C, though the old one has USB-C too, which is fantastic. It also has a 2-hour maximum runtime, which I think is pretty impressive for this kind of light. At max output, that's a long time to be shooting, and chances are that your camera may well run out of battery before your light does, which is a nice touch. Its max output is really, really nice. Even in a room surrounded by studio lights, even holding it at arm's length, I'm still going to impact the actual visuals because this light is bright enough to punch through. If I were to use the older version of this light, at arm's length, there's only a minor difference at best. The price increase of the Aputure AL-MC Pro does also mean you get a variety of other accessories. Just as a reminder, on the original Aputure AL-MC, you receive this rather nice carrying case, a silicone diffuser, and a USB-C charging cable, plus a couple of Velcro magnetic Velcro tabs that you could use to mount this somewhere if you needed to. Although mounting this is also aided by the fact this has 2 magnets, which means it'll even stick to my little table monopod here. The MC Pro, well, they step things up a notch. The carrying case, unfortunately, is one of these hard case affairs. I'm not fond of it. In fact, I've never used it because it's far too big and cumbersome. It also comes with this lovely mini ball head, something that's incredibly useful and actually used for a lot of other uses with my photographic equipment, but super handy little ball head here. Has a hot shoe mount as well, so you can easily mount it on top of your camera. The light also has a magnet in the back of it, though it's a bit too heavy to hang off my little tabletop monopod here. It will usually attach to anything else metallic. But the piece de resistance is this. These are the light modifiers that it comes with, and rather than the 1 silicone diffuser we actually get 3. First off, we get this lovely little dome diffuser. Gives you a really, really nice soft light, and even at arm's length, this is powerful enough just about to make a difference on my face when I hold it near me. Really nice soft light through this. Then we get a more traditional panel diffuser. This has slightly less effect on the light, so you still have a brighter image, and in this case, it still provides nice diffused light even at arm's length. And then last but not least, we get this. This is a control grid, and this honeycomb structure reduces the spread of the light. So usually the angle of this light is 45 degrees. Add the control grid and it reduces down to 30 degrees. I'll show you in a minute what that looks like. Altogether, this means you have more creative capability with this setup than you did with the original AL-MC. Most importantly though, it also has wireless built into it, meaning you can control it through the Sidus Link app and sync it with other Aputure lights, whether they be full-on studio lights or indeed the smaller AL-MCs or another AL-MC Pro. Now, I'm trying to tell you that this light is powerful, but let me show you how powerful it is. This room is currently lit up by 2 main lights. They're my Amaran 200XS and 200X. They're running through massive diffusers, so I get a nice soft light. In the corner here, I have a 300C Aputure Amaran light, and then I have a couple of other panel lights. What happens if we switch off the two key lights and the panel light? Well, I don't quite disappear, but I've definitely been thrust into darkness. You should be able to make out where I am and that I'm talking, but you can't see much more than that. So let's turn on the AL-MC Pro. And suddenly I'm lit up. Granted, this isn't the most flattering light I've ever been in, but the point is that you can see me nice and clearly even in a room without these key lights. I'm shooting at ISO 100, f5.6 and 1/30th of a second. This is not an easy lighting situation. But if I add the control grid, I reduce the spread of the light and really focus it just on my face. It gives me not an eerie look, but definitely a sort of more cinematic look that I'm used to. Unfortunately, the lights in this situation isn't quite bright enough if I add the dome diffuser, giving me a little bit too much diffused light. But with the panel diffuser, you know what? I could be convinced that this is an acceptable lighting setup. It is quite diffused, but I think you can still see me fairly well. Let's make a few quick changes to the camera settings. So now we're set to ISO 400. The 1/30th of a second f5.6 is still the same, and I've got the dome diffuser on this. I think this is a really nice soft light, and it perhaps is the kind of situation that you might end up in a room where you're recording maybe a corporate event where you haven't got great lighting and you need something to really make the subject that you're filming pop. And in this situation, I think it works really well. This is also how I've used this light very often when filming myself on location, and I've really enjoyed using it. It's simple to use and quick to use, and if you use, you know, various AL-MC or MC Pro lights together, it can actually provide quite a convincing scene with not a huge amount of lighting equipment. If you imagine this were mounted on top of the camera that I'm filming with, it does become quite a convincing setup. So let's briefly discuss some of the effects that you can do. I've mounted the light behind me so we can see what we're doing here, and I've opened up the Sliders Link app and I'm going to record my screen so you can see what I'm doing. So if we open up the MC Pro here in the app and we open up effects, let's have a look at one of the slightly more basic ones, or the one that's a good example, which is the sort of police car effect. If we hit play on that, this is actually quite a fun effect, and if you imagine it behind a window, you know, flashing into the room, you wouldn't be able to see the light, but it actually would light it up really quite nicely, and it's a very effective and simple effect that you can use. Equally, if you wanted to have something like paparazzi in the background, this is another way of adding that effect without having to go through a huge amount of effort of actually setting up some flashlights in the background. And for budding filmmakers, there's also a whole load of new effects that have been added that are exclusive to the AL-MC Pro versus the AL-MC, which can't do them. For instance, you have additional strobe effects, you have additional explosion effects, you also have things like club lights, which is a bit different to the version that you had available on the MC. You have different fires where you can actually customize the color. In this case, perhaps you'd be, burning various chemicals to get those lights. You can also have welding effects. The choice is truly limitless and quite fun, to be honest with you. I'm not sure in what situations I would necessarily use these, but there's definitely some situations where I would. Obviously, the bread and butter here is going to be in the white lighting, where obviously you can set up the exact color temperature you want. You can change the intensity. All those settings are very easy to control from the palm of your hands. And this will actually go from 10,000 Kelvin all the way to 2,000, though it's obviously brightest at daylight, which is 5,600 Kelvin. Obviously, another effect that you can have is you can have various different colors, and you can choose the specific color you want. And it even has something called source match, which allows you to take an image of the color that you want, and the light will then miraculously copy that color. It's quite a clever effect. As cool as those effects are, I've really only used them a couple of times. And that's just a taste of what it can do. I'm no expert when it comes to all the effects. You feel free to read up about them and indeed use them if you're into that kind of thing. But for me, this light is just perfect at 5,600 Kelvin, mounted on top of one of my mirrorless cameras while shooting video. They're dependable. The battery life of 2 hours just means they go on and on and on. And if you need to charge them, you can actually charge and use them at the same time by plugging in a USB-C power bank, like this one from Anker, which I've also reviewed on the channel. Quick plug there. but it will just keep on going. You can plug this in, it won't overheat in my experience, it just continues to work, which is just utterly magnificent. The other thing that I can talk about is the durability of this light. The first time I went out to use it, I dropped it twice, which was hugely disconcerting, but it is rated to IP65, which means it's dust and rain resistant, and I was shooting in the rain that day, and the camera was, and the light was fine, as was the camera, thankfully. And then I dropped it onto concrete and onto stone, and it's been dropped a few more times since. It has the battle scars to show for it, but its actual function has not been affected, and I think that's why you're spending £200. The AL-MC, although robust, I wouldn't feel quite as comfortable if this got very wet or indeed got dropped multiple times. The AL-MC Pro, on the other hand, just will handle it just fine. It is a bit of a workhorse. You can also buy this in a kit of 8 where it uses these amazing little charging pins at the bottom where you can just put it inside the case to charge it. It's a bit more expensive, but if you need 8 of them, that is certainly an option. Personally, 1 is plenty at the moment alongside the AL-MCs. The fact that I can use them all together as well is a real boon too. It means that if I need additional light, I can actually mount 2 of these on the camera just to give me that little bit of additional light, maybe change the angles up a little bit without too much hassle. Overall then, the AL-MC Pro is a great little light. It is expensive, but it feels super premium. It certainly feels a lot more premium than the AL-MC. It is far more capable, the battery life is excellent, and it just works. And sometimes that's what you want from kit, you just want it to work. And I guess that's why I've been so happy with it and haven't thought to review it for the past year, because it's simply been in my bag all the time and it's just been used. It's never lain around long enough for me to go, oh, I should review that, because I just pick it up all the time and make use of it. So hopefully you found this little review useful. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions about the AL-MC Pro or the AL-MC, pop them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so you don't miss future episodes. Thanks very much for watching. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye.